Hey guys, welcome back to a new video. So in today's video, I'm going to be showing you guys how to make a GIF. So I've already made like 2 videos of this in this channel, but I thought why not do a third one because it's doing really well. But this time I'm going to be doing my best to explain how it works because all the other videos, all I did was copy a script and paste it and then showed you how to make it work. But in today's video, I'm going to be showing you how the script is done and how the logic happens for the GIF to work. Anyways, before we begin, I want you all to subscribe. So we're on the road to 1,500 subscribers and it'll help a lot if you could subscribe and support this channel out. So anyways, let's start with the basics. So first, the way this GIF works is with a sprite sheet. So you might be wondering what a sprite sheet is. Let me show it to you guys. So this is what a sprite sheet looks like. It's basically a sheet with frames which will cycle through to make it look like an animation. And I'm pretty sure you guys already have a knowledge on this, so I don't want to explain this too much. But now let's head on to the next part, which is making this a GIF. So you might be wondering how to get your own sprite sheet of your own GIF. Let me just show it to you guys. So I left a link in the description to this website here. So what this website will do is it will help you convert your GIF to a sprite sheet. So let's find a suitable GIF to insert here. So we are going to go with this GIF. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to right click and save the image and then come back to this site and choose the file, and there you go. So this is the sprite sheet for this particular GIF. So what you have to do is just click on it and it will start downloading. The next thing you have to do is you have to go to roblox.com and upload this image. So let me just do that real quick. So we head onto the dashboard and then we go to the development items and then we go to decals and upload the asset. You can name it anything you like. I'm just going to name it Spritesheet 1 and upload. Okay, once it's uploaded, now let's go to Studio and set this up. So now that I'm in Studio, what you have to do is go to Start a GUI and put a screen GUI. You can name this anything you like. It depends on where you want this GIF to be. I'm just going to keep it as screen GUI and put a frame inside that. And even this frame, you can do anything with it as long as you understand the script. So what I'm going to do here is set the size to 0.5, 0.50, and then the anchor point to 0.5, and the position to 0.5, 0.50, so it's right in the middle. And inside that, I'm going to put an image label. So this image label is going to be, make sure this image label size is going to be 1010, so it's 1010, and press enter. So this should be the size, right? And once you set the size for the image label, this frame, go under this frame and there should be a property called clip descendants under behavior, and check that on. So the main reason why I'm doing this is because when you put the sprite sheet and the sprite sheet enlarges, so I mean when you put the sprite sheet and the image label enlarges, it won't come out of the frame. It should be inside the frame. That's the only way this GIF can work. So this frame is technically what the GIF will hold. So if you want the GIF to have different sizes, all you have to do is change this frame size. Don't meddle with the image label inside, but the frame, which you have to change as you like. So now that we have that set up, I'm going to call this image label animator. And this frame can be called anything you like. I'm just going to keep it as frame so you can understand. The next thing you have to do is go to animated and then go down and find the image property and go back to your Chrome and find the sprite sheet. Under images, go to images and then find the sprite sheet there, and then click on the 3 dots and copy asset ID, and then go back to studio and then paste it in the image property. So this is what you'll see. So before we go further, I want to explain how this is done. So as you can see, there's this animated image label. What it technically will do is it will start with the first image. So make sure the frame is clip descendants. I think I accidentally unchecked it. Okay, check. So what this image label will do is technically zoom in to the only the first frame. So I really don't have size to zoom it in, but it'll technically only zoom into the first frame like this. It's really hard to zoom in like this just um because I'm yeah. So it will zoom only onto the first frame, and then it will keep switching between each frames. So that's what it technically does. Now let me just go and reset it back. On second note, I think I'm going to reduce the size of the frame because the resolution of this image is pretty small. So I think it's good to even reduce the size of the frame. Okay, so let's keep it like this. So now it's the scripting part. So before we head to the scripting part, so this is the sprite sheet we have right now. So I'm going to be explaining how I'm going to make the script cycle through each of this image and show it to the viewer or the player in the game. So let's begin. So as you can see, I have labeled each frame here um, according to the columns and rows. So there's 3 columns and 4 rows. So we're gonna have 3 main variables for this. Okay, so let me just change my color here quick and show it to you guys. So the first variable is gonna be the last frame. So this last frame is gonna be technically the current frame. Okay, so the current frame is gonna be 1. We're gonna be starting with 1. If you want this animation to start with 2, then it should be 2, right? So if you want it to start with the 5th, then this 1, this 2, this 3, this 4, this 5. So this is the 5th one. We can start with 5. Okay, but the main one is always the 1, right? So we're gonna start with 1, and then there's 2 more extra variables. The second one is going to be the current column. Okay, so the current column is technically the last frame. Okay, because there's 3 columns in this, and that means um we want to start with the first column, right? You can either put 1 here or you can put last frame. Okay, I'm gonna put last frame in brackets. Let me just put a 1. Okay, the current column equals to the last frame. So actually, let me just delete that and then write it again. I'm really sorry for the messy handwriting, but you get it. So if the current column is 1, I mean the last frame is 1, then the current column is going to be the last frame, which is technically this. Okay. Um, Now that we have that, the third variable is going to be the current row, and the current row is going to be not the last frame. Well, you could put last frame, but it's usually 1. Okay, so these are the rows. Okay, this is a row, this is a row, like 1 2 3 4. There's 4 rows here, and we are going to be starting with the first row. If you put 2, then the last frame is technically going to be this is going to be 1. Okay, but we are going to be starting with the first row. And now the next thing we have to do is, so these are the main variables. Let me just put a box around them so we understand that these are the main variables we need to work with to make this work. And now there are another 3 variables which we need for these variables to work. Okay, so the first one is going to be columns, and the columns of the sprite sheet. Okay, so as you know, there's 3 columns here, so it's gonna be 3. And then rows is gonna be 4. I know, I'm sorry. Yeah, 4. And then the frames. Okay, so the frames in, in one hand is gonna be, we can technically say so you can either count each row, I mean each frame, So you can say 1 2 3 4 5 6, or you could do this way, which is we first check the full sprite sheet rows and columns. So as you can see, this is the only the fourth row has one, right? The fourth row doesn't have a complete column, right? So it only has one column. So what you can do is first divide this. Okay, we're gonna like divide this, forget about this, and we're gonna only take this and this. Okay, so 3 columns into 3 rows. Okay, so we're gonna say 3 into 3, and then we need to add this extra column. Okay, that's what we're gonna do. So we are gonna say 3 into 3 into no, plus 1. We just add the extra um we're gonna add the extra column into these frames. So this will technically count the frames in. So 9 10, there should be 10 frames here. Okay, 3 6 9 10. Yes, correct. This will help when you're if you're working with a larger spreadsheet. You don't want to spend time just counting everything. So yeah, that's one quick tip. Now that's those are the information we needed for this to run. Okay, so now we'll head on to how the script will work. It's technically gonna be like just a dry run of how it's gonna work. I'm not gonna script it yet. I'm gonna explain it and then script it. If you just want the straight up answer, I will leave a timestamp in the description so you can go forward to it. But I recommend learning this so that you don't have to always rewatch this video and you'll understand it on your own, and you can implement it to your other scripts and other games as you like. So yeah, now let's head on to the next part. So technically what our goal is we need to loop through, so we need to get each frame per second, like different frame per second. Our target is to get the current column and the current row um, of the uh, of the sprite sheet every loop, so that we can technically set the image label size to that, so it will only display that specific image, right? I don't know if you understood that, but let me just show you all how it works. So it technically is gonna work in a form where like we're gonna loop, we're gonna keep updating every second using a run service, which is on Roblox, which I will go to when I'm scripting. So as you know, there's frames per second, right? So every second we need to loop, right? So every second we need to loop loop through this spreadsheet. Okay, so to do that, what we can use is tick. Okay, Roblox has um, a function called tick. So the way I can teach y'all what tick means is that tick is technically, imagine we want to see how long, if it's been 30 seconds since the um, last time we went somewhere. Okay, so what we can do for that is imagine this is you, right? And then you left the building. So you left the building when the tick was at 19,600. Okay, it has been 19,600 seconds. The tick is bigger than that because since 1970 it's obviously bigger. Okay, but just imagine 19,600. Okay, but now you, so leaving home, let me just put leaving home here. And now you're coming back home. Okay, you're gonna come back home. So I'll just say came back. Now we're gonna check the tick. Okay, the tick when you came back home. Let's say 19,700. Okay, so when you came back home, it was 19,700. So you had this both values saved. I mean, this value saved, and now you have this value saved. So the way we can see like how long it took from you leaving home to coming back home is we minus both of this. Okay, we minus this with this. Okay, so um we say 19,600 minus no 19,700 minus 19,600, which is 100. So it has been 100 seconds since you left home and then came back. So that's what tick tick technically means. So we can use this in Roblox to determine the real life time, and we can, yeah, technically use this for our advantage. So that's what tick is. Now let me use that and explain how we're going to do this. Um, so what we will basically do is we will do the same thing but for 1 second. So every 1 second we will loop through. So we're going to use the tick to check every 1 second. So technically how that will go is just we'll have like a variable and then it will be like tick, the last tick, right? So we're going to keep checking, updating this variable with the tick, and then next time it's going to loop, we are just going to be comparing this variable. So t no, so technically we're going to say the current tick, and then we are technically say minus t. Oops, why do I keep writing f? So this t, right? And then obviously it will return an answer if it's 1, and then if it's 1, then we're gonna see if it's 1 or above 1, like or like 2 seconds 3, which means it had some problems going on, but then we have to update it. Okay, but if it's below 1, then no, right? So usually we can use the comparison operator, like in this case, which is this, which means bigger or equals to 1. So if this is bigger or equals to 1, then we will continue to the other part of script, which is updating this frame to this, and then this, and then this. So how will that happen, right? So the way we're going to do that is pretty easy as well. So for that, we are first gonna add so the last frame is gonna be at 1, right? So we're not gonna stay at 1, we need to go to 2 now. Okay, so for that we first have to add 1 to the last frame. This so guys, remember that um it's all in a loop. Okay, so I think I should actually state it. It's gonna be in a loop. It's gonna be technically render stepped loop, and it all is gonna be happening in a loop. So what we're gonna say is we need to add 1 to the last frame. So if it's here, then the last frame, if we add 1, it will be 2, and 2 is here, right? So that's what we're gonna do. So we can technically say here last frame plus equals to 1. Okay, we're just gonna add 1, right? And then when we add 1, we're gonna make sure. So so um if we're adding, so for example, if you're here, we added, so it goes here, right? And then we add again, it goes here, and then we add again, it will go here. Okay, it's not gonna update because the last frame technically is just the columns. Okay, technically we are dealing with columns here. So when I say 1, it stays in the first column, and then when I say 2, it goes to the second. So that's how it works. So here there's nothing, this place is literally empty, so it's gonna break the script, right? So here we need to see if here this is going to be the fourth, right? So this is going to be the fourth column, and there's no 4 columns because there's only 3. So one way we can check that is by comparing. So uh, we are going to be comparing. So we're going to say if the last frame is like, imagine the last frame is like 4. Okay, um so we will compare. So we're gonna say if the last frame is bigger, right? If the last frame is bigger, then these columns here, okay? So columns, and if this last frame is like 4, there's no 4 columns here. There's only the limit is 3. This the limit is 3. So um obviously then if the last frame is bigger than the columns, then we have to reset it back to right. Then we are going to be resetting the last frame back to column 1. So it's if you're going from here to here to here, and then if you go here, right, there's nothing, so we're gonna all the way loop back to column 1. That's what we're technically doing here, okay? So that's one thing you have to keep in mind. And then so this last frame will keep updating along as it goes like this, and then it will keep looping back and forth. So the next thing is the next part of the script is gonna be the current column. So the current column is technically the last frame, so make sure to update this current column as well. So whenever we move one up like this current column should be upgraded as well to the last frame again, okay? That's one more thing we have to do. So um technically the current column and the last frame are literally the same, okay? This is the current column and the last frame. This is also current column and the last frame. And then the next thing is the current row. If we are looping back, so I mean if we are like uh, starting with a row, it's always going to be the first one, okay? The animation is always, I mean the GIF is always going to start with the first one. So it's going to start with the first. It's not going to like start in the second row and go like this. Well, if you wanted it, you could do that, but technically we always start with this first row. We'll go like that, right? Like this. As you can see, the arrows symbolize it. And then from here, it should go all the way back here again. So the current row is always going to be 1, and we're going to set the current row to 1. So before the loop, like actual loop begins, current row should always be 1, and then another loop, which is going to be a repeat loop. The repeat is technically, it will repeat until like a specific operation is met. I mean a specific statement is met. It will repeat, and in the repeat what we have to do is um, we have to first check the current column is bigger than columns, okay? If the current column is bigger than columns, then it should the current columns should minus with the column. So what I mean by that is if the current column is again 4, then we have to minus this with this, which will equals to 1. So if it's 4, and it'll go back here. That's what we mean by that, okay? So we're gonna see if the current column is bigger than that, then we're gonna do that, and the current row we're gonna add 1. So let me show you all what I meant by that. So this is gonna be a cycle. So we're gonna start here, and then we're gonna go here, and then we're gonna go here, and then we're gonna go here as well, right? And then once we are here, it's going to reset the column, but while it resets the column, like it's gonna add a row as well, because the current row is 1, and then it's gonna add a row, so it's gonna go back all the way back to this first column, but it's gonna start down here, okay? So now again from here we're gonna go like that, this, then this, and then here again we're in the 4th column, which there is no 4th column. We're gonna all the way go back up, back here, and then go again down, because we're gonna add 1 more here, and then it's gonna be the 3rd row, and we're gonna do the same. And here, so the 4th here, we're gonna go back here, and here like add one more again, and on the fourth one, um, when we are going like this, and then we are met with the second column, we are gonna be checking like the specific row of the column, and we're gonna check again if 2 minus 3, we're gonna check that, and then it's gonna be 1, so it's gonna go back all the way to the top because this is the first row. That's how the math happens. I don't know if I understood. So yeah, that's how the math happens, and then we keep looping. So that's how it decides the specific location, and then the final part is we're gonna set the position of the uh, we're gonna set the positions of the image label. So we're gonna set the positions with the current column and the current row. The way we can do that is we are gonna be minusing 1 from the current column and current row, and then um, that will equal the scale. Okay, so I'll show that in studio, that's where you can understand, but that's what we're technically gonna do. I don't know if y'all really understood what I meant here, but if y'all did, that'll mean a lot. But now let's go to studio and make this work. So we are back in studio, and now we are going to be doing this. So one thing I want to tell is that sometimes this image might be too small. What you have to do is just extend it like this. Um, but I recommend first doing the script and then working on that. So let me just put it back to normal, and let's first work on the script. So I'm gonna go to screen GUI and put a local script. Delete this hello world. I'm gonna try my best to explain in the scripting part as well for the people who um skipped the visual explanation, or if you're in case you don't understand that. So let's start. First let's start with the frame rate. How much frames is your how much frames per second is your GIF gonna be? Usually I go with 24. The maximum it can go is up to 60 because Roblox capped at 60 unless you have FPS unlocker, which does not make sense. So just go with 60 the max, and then the last frame, and then the frames. So as you know, I explained this in the visual guide, so let me go back here. So the last frame is always 1 because it's technically the column, the current column, and it's going to start with the first column and the first row. So this, right, it's going to start with the first image. If you want it to start with something else, then change the last frame. Maybe if you want it to start it with this, then put last frame to 2 and the current row to 2 as well, so it will be here. Anyways, here let's look at the frames. So it's 3 into 3 into plus 1. So it's 3 plus 3 asterisk 3 plus 1. That's how much frames it got. And then the rows, let's check the rows, it's 4. And columns is 3. Okay, so since now that we're done with that, let's get the other variables, which is the animated. The animated is the most important one. Anything else doesn't matter for the GIF. The animated is the most important. Just go straight for the animated, which is script parent of frame dot animated. Anywhere your animated image label is, just find it and set the variable. So the next thing we have to do is we have to get the tick. So I even taught you all the tick in the visual guide. So tick local, I'm going to say local t tick. So it even explains here, returns the amount of time in seconds since the Unix epoch according to the device's time. Okay. So we're gonna keep this tick as t. And now let's enter down a bit. and the size. Okay, I forgot to mention it in the visual guide, but you have to set the size as well. So the size of the animated dot size equals to udim2 dot new. It's gonna be columns. Oops, I think I spelled columns wrong. Let me just go back and change it to columns, comma 0, and then comma rows, comma 0. So what this does is technically it will scale the image properly. So actually let me show you all the visual guide again. So this columns is 3 and rows is 4. So let me go back here, find the animated and set the column size. Just do that. So 3 0 4 0. As you can see, it's scaled perfectly, and that's how it will be. So even if you set the size of the frame, it still will be balanced. Okay, so that's what this technically does. And then the next thing is gonna be the main function for updating it. So local function update, enter, and let's begin. So according to the visual guide we did, we are gonna first compare to the um tick, right? So we're gonna see if it has been 1 second or like any amount of frames you put. So it's technically gonna be if it's 24 seconds 24 frames per second, then it's gonna be 1 divided by 24. Okay, so how we can do that is say if tick minus t or bigger equals to 1, divide that by frame rate. Then so this will check if enough time has passed between the frames to update the spreadsheet. So inside of this, we are first gonna add one more to the last frame. So what this does is it technically goes one step forward to the next column. So if you're at the first column, then it'll go to the second column, so it'll be here. And then if it's in the second, it'll go to the third, so vice versa, like, yeah. And the next thing is we're gonna say if last frame is bigger than frames, then last frame equals to 1. And so what this does is it will loop the GIF. Okay, so if the last frame is bigger than the frame, so let's go back here. So if we came one step here, it's gonna be this last frame is gonna be 4, but the columns is no, not frames. Wait, I did something wrong here. Oh yeah, okay. If the last frame is here and we go all the way here, which is 10 in my case, right? And then if we are in 11th one, then we're gonna compare. So this, imagine this is 11th and this last frame. No, I mean this 11 and this the frame. So if there's only 10 frames and this 11, then it's bigger. That means there's no more frames to go further than that. Then we need to reset back to the first frame. That's what that means. So it'll loop the GIF. If you want the GIF to just end at that point, then just at this time over here, just say break. Okay, no, then return. I'm sorry, then return. Just put that. Then it will just stop after the GIF is done. But if you want it to loop, put this. The next thing you have to state is local current column equals to last frame. What this does is it will get the current column, which is technically the last frame, because it will keep resetting and we will be getting the column from the last frame. So if the last frame is 2, then the column will be 2 as well. And the local current row is going to be 1. We are going to start with the first row. and then we are going to be starting a repeat, and inside the repeat we are going to be saying, so what the repeat is this is like what the current columns and the rows should be based on the current frame. So this is why we set the current column to the last frame earlier. So we set this to this, that's why. So if current column is bigger than columns, then if the current column is bigger than columns, so again if this current column is 4, which is not existing, so if you have only 3 columns and this 4, then we'll compare, and if 4 is bigger than 3, which is true, then we have to reset back all the way to the first column. So that's what we do here. So we say current column equals to current column minus columns, and current row equals to current row plus 1, because once we reset back, we need to go one step down to the next frame, because it's not gonna only loop the first columns, it should keep looping through each rows as well. So that's what this part does, right? And then until not brackets current columns bigger than columns. So what this means is technically until current columns is smaller than columns. Um so what this means is that the current columns and so let me just go back here. Where is it? Here. So if we come to this column here, as you can see, if you go to the second one, right? Second, there's no frames at all here. And if you compare this to 3, it's smaller than 3, which means technically it should end here, because there's no more to go. So we should come all the way up to the first one again. So that's the only way we do it. So that's why it waits until the end is reached, and then here we are going to be setting the animated dot position to udim2 dot new, and here we're gonna put a minus and then brackets, and then current column -1, then outside of it 0, and then again minus open brackets and say current row -1 and then comma 0. What this does is it will set the position of the current frame. So if it's this frame right now, then it will set that position to the first part here, like that. Technically that's what it does. So, and then you could even if you want to research it, you could just if you want to see how it works, you can just print the column and the current column and the current row. But I don't want to actually. It's okay, we don't need that. And then make sure to set the T to tick, so the next second we can compare it again, right? So that's all, and now let's go back down here and say game get service, run step to connect to a function, and we are going to just say update. Okay, so this should pretty much work. I'm going to go into the game and check if it works. Okay guys, so I just noticed something is wrong here. So let me see what's wrong and get back to you. Okay guys, so I just noticed that this current row in line 29, it's current row current row equals to current row plus 1. It's not a current column plus 1. So just a small mistake. Let me just try it now. Let's play. Alright, done. As you can see guys, it works. As you can see, it's running we can even actually control the FPS a bit more. This looks more like a 15 FPS type of GIF, so let me just try with the 15. As you can see, it works well, and it's on Roblox. It's technically like a video. If you have a high frame video spreadsheet, it would technically, yeah, look like a video. So let me actually try to find y'all a video with 60 frames so that we can actually check it in action. Okay guys, so I got this. Let me put it to 60. Okay, it's already at 60. Let's play. Oops, let me just fix the columns and the rows. Actually guys, keep this animated size at 1010 because the script will do the thing, so we can actually count here. So it has 3 4 and 3 4 3, so 4 columns and 3 rows. So 4 columns, 4 3, and then plus 3 more. Wait, there's 4 rows. 3 4, yeah, my bad guys, there's 4 rows. Yeah, there's 4 rows, but for the counting frames, you either count all of this, or you can just say 4 into 3 plus 3. So 4 into 3 plus 3. This should work. Let's play it. As you can see, our 60 frames GIF works as well. So guys, this is how you do the GIF system inside of Roblox. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you want more tutorials like this, please let me know. I try my best to explain and make you understand. But anyways, see you guys in the next one. Peace.